right, so our next project is going to be this 1983 Stihl 028 Wood Boss chainsaw. I bought this saw from a neighbor of mine, an elderly gentleman, probably about 90 years old, and he bought this saw brand new in 1983 and used it on and off through the years and loaned it out, and so I got it from him at a pretty decent price and spent some money on it. It needed a new bar and chain, of course, and it needed some missing hardware, and I bought a new fuel cap and oil cap for it so that I could get it out and try it out and see how it would do. So took the saw out in the yard a few times, did some sawing, and then took it out on the trail on some trail maintenance and really put it to the test. And of course, for a saw this old, it showed some problems that I had to constantly be readjusting the air and fuel mixture at idle. You get it set right and you do a few cuts and it wouldn't want to idle again. So it's probably got some leaks at the crank seals. I'm sure they're deteriorated, being 34 years old. So what we're going to do with this saw is I'm going to completely disassemble it, go all through it. I'm going to put a new jug and piston in it, rings, new seals, new gaskets, all of that kind of stuff, rebuild the carburetor, possibly thinking about repainting the saw while I've got it completely disassembled, just to make it look good. If it's going to run good, let it look good too. So anyhow, we're going to begin doing that. All right, so some things to remember. When you start taking something apart like this, you don't want to just start taking out all the screws and throwing them in a can, and some people can do that and get away with it, but I suggest, and what I do personally is I get me some Ziploc bags like this, just some little cheap sandwich bags and a Sharpie or a little black marker, and as I take things apart, I'll bag each piece apart, label the bag real good, where it come from. And if it's going to be apart for a long time, I may even put the date on it, what it came from. You may have 2 or 3 projects apart at one time. And so it's easy to start getting things mixed and mingled up, and that's not good. So I do that, and I'll also have a notepad and a pen. I'll take some notes if I need to. I'll get my camera out, my cell phone, I'll snap some pictures, and you'll be surprised how much that can help you later on, because your intentions are, well, I'm going to have this thing done in a week or 2. You never know, life happens. It may be a year before you put it back together. Who knows? And so photographs and good notes, having your Ziploc bags labeled in one location, in a box, with all the parts in it, will help you a lot putting it back together. It does me. I've had several instances where I had long-term projects, and if I had not had photographs and everything bagged and labeled, it would have been a nightmare to put back together. So that's my starting advice, is that. All right, so one of the first things that I recommend when you're going to start doing something like this, especially to a chainsaw, and you've been using it, is when you get it back, and the first thing that I do is go ahead and dump the fuel and the oil out. I put them back into little bottles that I use out on the trail to refuel my saw and re-oil the saw. I just recycle it, I put it back into there and keep it clean, drain them out good. That way you don't have to worry about any kind of fuel leaks or anything like that while you're taking it apart. Last thing you want to do is end up with a gasoline leak or getting this little cloth covered in gasoline, and all it takes is a little spark or something and you got a nice little fire going in your garage. So always be safe, take that stuff out, get it emptied, get it in the bottles, get the bottles out of here. That's another thing that I do not do is keep gasoline in my shop. I always take the bottle and move it outside. I have another little building outside that I keep gasoline and things like that in that are very combustible. Okay, we're going to begin disassembling this saw. Like I said earlier, this saw runs good, okay? It runs real good, but you can tell that the air and fuel mixture is constantly changing on it, and I believe it is because the crank seals are 34 years old. Who knows, the jug may be loose on it. It could have several air leaks causing the air and fuel mixture to constantly change on it. And then these engines are sensitive to air and fuel mixture changes. The adjusting screws, a lot of times a quarter of a turn is more than what's needed to adjust one, and that's how sensitive they are. So we're going to take this thing apart, and I got my bags here, and I got me a marker and stuff, and I'm going to start with just this little tool that comes with the saw, and you'll be surprised how much you can do to one of these machines with this little tool right here. I know it's not the fastest thing in the world, but we're not in a hurry. We're just out here playing around in the garage, doing a little piddling on this saw and having some fun. And so let me start by saying, before we go any farther, that I am not a professional. This is not intended as a demonstration or instruction for you on how to do your saw. This is just me. This is my hobby. I do this for fun. It's not for a living. I'm not a professional saw mechanic or anything like that. I'm just going to do this for just the fun of it and no other reason, to make the saw run better and to use it out on the foothills trail doing some maintenance, just to be my little go-to saw. I've got a newer, bigger saw that sometimes I take, but I just wanted an older, more vintage saw to take out, and that's what we're going to be doing here. It's just disassembling this, redoing it, making it run and cut great, and to take it out on the trail. Okay, this is a good place to stop our video. I've gone about as far as I can on the right hand side of the saw, just using the little chainsaw tool that come with the saw, and I'm at the point now where it's time to take the clutch off. The clutch does not have a very thick surface to work with, like to put that little wrench on, and it's on there very tight also. So what I'm going to do in the next episode is get that clutch off. I'll use a 6-point socket and my impact wrench. The clutch is held on counterclockwise, and I'm going to remove it and continue on with the disassembly.